Hyunwoo Park stood in the massive chamber and felt very small. The ceiling stretched so high above him that he could barely see it. Strange lights floated in the air like tiny stars. Around him, 12 different alien races sat on platforms that hung in the air without any support he could see. Each alien looked completely different from the others. Some had too many arms. Others had skin that changed colors like oil on water. One group looked like they were made of living crystal. Another seemed to be made of pure energy, held together by some kind of force field. But they all had one thing in common. They all looked at Hyunwoo like he was an insect that had crawled into their perfect world. Behind Hyunwoo stood Captain Ji-ho Kim and Commander So-jin Lee. Ji-ho kept his face calm, but So-jin could see his hands were tight behind his back. She had served with him for 10 years. She knew when he was angry. At the center of the chamber sat the High Arbiter. His name was Veltharan, and he belonged to a race called the Zephyrians. He was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue metal. When he spoke, his voice came through a machine that turned his words into human language. "Human representative," Veltharan said. His voice was cold and flat. "Your species has been found guilty of violating the containment protocols. You have left your home system without permission. You have built colonies on 3 worlds that were not given to you." Hyunwoo took a deep breath. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times on the long journey to this place. "High Arbiter, we were not aware of these protocols. No one ever told us about them." Something that might have been laughter came from the alien platforms. It sounded like wind blowing through broken glass. "Ignorance is not an excuse," Veltharan said. "For 5,000 years we have kept peace in this galaxy. We decide which species may travel between stars. We decide who is ready for that responsibility." "And you have decided we are not ready?" Hyunwoo asked. "Obviously." The word came out like a slap. "Your species is violent. You fight wars among yourselves. You destroy your own planet's environment. You create weapons of mass destruction. These are the actions of a primitive, dangerous race." So Jin felt her jaw clench. She wanted to point out that every species in this chamber probably had similar histories. But she stayed quiet. This was not her job. Veltharan continued speaking. "The Galactic Council offers you 2 choices. First, you may return to your home system immediately. You will destroy all colonies and space stations outside your solar system. You will never leave again. We will place monitoring stations around your star to make sure you obey." "And the second choice?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew he would not like the answer. "Corrective action." Veltharan's translator made the words sound even more threatening. "We will remove the threat your species represents to galactic peace, permanently." The chamber fell silent. Hyunwoo could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He looked around, at the alien faces watching him. Some looked curious, others looked bored. Most looked like they were watching an annoying animal that needed to be put down. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people who had looked up at the stars and dreamed of walking among them, about the children who wanted to be astronauts, about the scientists who spent their lives trying to understand the universe, about the explorers who had died trying to push humanity further into space. He thought about the 3 small colonies that humans had built with so much hope and work. New Sol on Kepler 442b, where 50,000 people were building new lives. Busan Station in the Alpha Centauri system, humanity's first deep space research facility. The mining operation on Vega Prime, where humans were learning to harvest resources from other worlds. All of it would have to be abandoned. All those dreams would have to die. Unless there is a third option, Hyunwoo said quietly. The aliens looked surprised. Veltharan leaned forward. "Explain." "We refuse both of your offers." Hyunwoo's voice grew stronger as he spoke. "Humanity will continue to explore the stars. We will build new colonies where we choose. We will trade with any species that wants to trade with us. We suggest the Galactic Council change their position and recognize humanity as a free species with the right to travel in space." The chamber erupted. Aliens made sounds that the translators could not turn into human words. Some sounds were angry. Others were amused. A few sounded shocked. Vel quote Theron held up a hand and the noise stopped. You cannot be serious. Your entire species controls 3 small worlds, and perhaps 50 spacecraft. The Galactic Council commands millions of star systems. Our fleets could block out your sun. Our weapons could crack your planet in half. That may be true, Hyunwoo said. But we will not submit to slavery. We will not live in a cage no matter how large you make it. Then you choose death, Veltheron said. We choose freedom. More alien laughter filled the chamber. One of the crystal beings spoke in a voice like breaking glass, brave words from such a tiny species. Do you think courage will stop our weapons? Jiho stepped forward. May I speak, Ambassador? Hyunwoo nodded. G-Ho looked directly at Veltharan. High Arbiter, has any species ever refused the Council's ultimatum before? Veltharan paused. No. All intelligent races understand the wisdom of accepting our guidance. Then you have never had to enforce your threats, Jiho said. You have never actually fought a species that refused to surrender. We have never needed to, Veltharan said. But there was something different in his voice now. Maybe, Jiho said. Or maybe you just never met humans before. In the silence that followed, Dr. Minho Yoon leaned close to Hyunwoo and whispered, They have no idea what they're dealing with. Hyunwoo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. No, they really don't. Veltharan stood up on his floating platform. You have 7 standard galactic rotations to comply with the Council's decision. Return to your system and dismantle your illegal colonies. If you do not, we will dismantle them for you, along with any humans who resist. We understand, Hyunwoo said. 7 days. 7 days, Veltharan confirmed. Use them wisely. As the human delegation left the chamber, Sojin could hear the aliens already discussing how to divide up human space after the coming war. They talked about it like it was already over. She almost felt sorry for them. The emergency meeting room in Geneva was full of the most important people on Earth. President Yoon Ji-han sat at the head of the long table. Around her were generals, admirals, scientists, and intelligence officers. Everyone looked worried except for General Tae-young Choi, who looked angry. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, General Choi said. These aliens gave us 7 days to abandon everything we've built in space, or they'll destroy us. That's correct, Ambassador Hyunwoo said. He had arrived on Earth just 2 hours ago. The Galactic Council has never had a species refuse their ultimatum before. They seem to think we'll change our minds when we see their fleet. How big is their fleet? Admiral Shung-hoon Lim asked. Intelligence Officer Dong-hyun Seo opened a tablet and put it on the table. A hologram appeared showing star maps with red dots scattered across them. Based on our observations over the past 5 years, the Council controls approximately 2.3 million star systems. They have at least 50,000 major warships, possibly twice that number. Someone at the table whistled softly. However, Dong-hyun continued, we have learned some interesting things about them. They have not fought a real war in over 2,000 years. The last major conflict was when the Ethereal Collective joined the Council, and that was more of a negotiation than a battle. Dr. Eugene Kang, the head of Earth's physics research, leaned forward. What does that mean for us? It means they're used to dealing with species that surrender immediately, Dong-hyun said. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force against enemies that won't fight back. General Choi slammed his hand on the table. That's all very interesting, but we still can't fight 50,000 warships with what we have. Actually, Dr. Eugene said, we might not need to. Everyone turned to look at her. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp and confident. For the past 10 years, while the aliens have been maintaining their empire, we've been developing something they don't know about. She touched her tablet, and the hologram changed. Now it showed a strange-looking spacecraft that seemed to bend light around itself. Project Prometheus, she said. Quantum fold technology. Admiral Lim studied the hologram. I've heard rumors about this. How does it work? Traditional faster-than-light travel, including what the aliens use, requires jumping between fixed points in space, like using bridges between islands. You can only go where the bridges lead you. Dr. Yu-jin touched her tablet again. The hologram showed lines connecting stars like a web. The aliens use something called jump gates, ancient technology that connects their important systems, very efficient for moving large fleets along predictable routes. She touched the tablet once more. Now the hologram showed small ships appearing and disappearing randomly across the star map. Quantum fold technology doesn't need gates or fixed routes. We can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. The aliens will never see us coming. How many ships do we have with this technology? General Choi asked. 12 prototype vessels, Admiral Lim said. Not enough to fight their entire fleet, but enough for something else. President Han had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke. What are you thinking, Admiral? We don't fight their fleet directly. We make them understand that we can hurt them in ways they never expected. Donghyun nodded. The aliens have something they value more than military ships, their unity. The Council has stayed together for thousands of years because every species believes the others will always support them. So we break that belief, General Choi said, understanding. Exactly. Admiral Lim stood up and walked to the hologram. There's a place called the Monument of First Unity. It's in neutral space, equal distance from all Council worlds. It represents everything they believe about their permanent alliance. You want to attack their monument? President Han asked. Not attack. Visit. We'll show them that if we can reach their most sacred site, we can reach anywhere. We'll make them realize their perfect defenses aren't perfect. Dr. Min Ho-yoon, who had been with the diplomatic mission, raised his hand. What about the message we send? We don't want them to think we're just another violent species. That's the beautiful part, Admiral Lim said. We don't destroy anything. We deliver a message. We prove we could have destroyed their monument but chose not to. It shows them we're not monsters. We're just not going to be caged. President Han looked around the room. How long do we have? 5 days until their deadline, Donghyun said. The monument attack should happen in 3 days. That gives us time to prepare for whatever comes next. And what does come next? General Choi asked. Admiral Lim smiled. That depends on how smart the aliens are. Meanwhile, in the Zephyrian Fleet Command Center above the gas giant Nexus Prime, Fleet Commander Zexathera was feeling confident. He stood before a massive display showing his ships positioned throughout Council space. Status report, he ordered. All fleets report ready for deployment, his aide said. The human home system is surrounded. Their 3 colony worlds have been located and marked for destruction. Resistance expected? Minimal, sir. Intelligence indicates the humans have primitive weapons and no faster-than-light combat capability. Zexathera nodded. Time to target? 4 days, sir. We're giving them until the last day of the deadline. Command thinks they might surrender once they see our forces in position. They might, Zexathera agreed. But somehow I doubt it. That ambassador of theirs didn't look like someone who scares easily. With respect, sir, it doesn't matter how brave they are. They can't fight physics. Our shields can absorb anything their weapons can produce. Our weapons can crack planets. This won't be a battle, it will be pest control. Zexathera stared at the display. Something bothered him about the whole situation, but he couldn't figure out what. Sir? His aide asked. Nothing. Continue preparations. And send a message to all fleet commanders. I want constant sensor sweeps. Full awareness protocols. Sir, we're watching for primitive spacecraft from a species that has never seen real military technology. Humor me, Zexathera said. After his aide left, Zexathera continued staring at the display. In his long career, he had overseen the integration of 17 species into the Council. All of them had followed the same pattern. Initial resistance, followed by negotiation, followed by acceptance. The humans were different. They had refused immediately, without even trying to negotiate better terms. Either they were incredibly stupid, or they knew something he didn't, quote, he hoped it was stupidity. Back on Earth, Dr. Yu Jin was making final checks on the 3 ships that would carry out the Monument mission. The UES Incheon, UES Taizhou, and UES Sejong were humanity's most advanced vessels, invisible to alien sensors and capable of appearing anywhere in the galaxy. Final systems check complete, Captain Yanseo Park reported from the Incheon. Quantum, fold drives are stable, stealth systems are active, message pods are loaded. Remember, Admiral Lim said over the communication system, this is not an attack. This is a demonstration. Get in, deliver the message, get out. Don't engage unless you're fired upon. Understood, Admiral. President Han's voice came over the channel. Captain Park, the entire human race is counting on you. Show them who we are. Yes, Madam President. We won't let you down. As the 3 ships prepared to fold space and travel across the galaxy, Hyunwoo stood in the observation deck watching them. So Jin stood beside him. Do you think this will work? She asked. It has to, Hyunwoo said. Because if it doesn't, we're about to find out what it's like to fight the entire galaxy. The Monument of First Unity was the most beautiful thing Captain Yeonseo Park had ever seen. It floated in empty space between the stars, a crystal structure the size of a small moon. Light seemed to flow through it like liquid, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Sensors show 12 patrol ships in standard defensive positions, her tactical officer reported. They're Zephyrian vessels, same class as the ones we observed at Nexus Prime. Any sign they've detected us? Yeonseo asked. Negative. Their sensors are scanning for jump gate signatures. They have no idea we're here. Yeonseo looked at the tactical display. The alien patrol ships moved in slow, predictable patterns. They had been doing the same routine for probably hundreds of years. Why would they change? Nothing had ever threatened this place before. UES Taizhou and UES Sejong. Report status, she said into her communicator. Taizhou ready? Came Captain Won-jae Kim's voice. Sejong ready, Captain Hye-jin Choi confirmed. Remember, we appear simultaneously, deploy the message and withdraw. No heroics. If something goes wrong, we fold out immediately. Yeonseo took a deep breath. In 30 seconds, humanity would either take a giant step toward freedom or start a war they could not win. Quantum fold in 10 seconds, her navigator announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe twisted around them. Space folded, like paper, and suddenly the 3 human ships materialized less than a kilometer from the monument. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The alien patrol ships continued their lazy patterns, not yet realizing what had happened. Then the alarm started. Deploy the message pod, Yeonseo ordered. A small device shot out from the Incheon and attached itself to the monument's surface. Immediately, a holographic projection appeared, visible from every angle. The message played in all 12 council languages. People of the Galactic Council, the hologram said in Ambassador Hyunwoo's voice. Humanity does not wish to fight you. We wish only to explore the stars as free beings. But we will not accept slavery or imprisonment. This monument has stood for 5,000 years as a symbol of unity and peace, and we could have destroyed it, but we chose not to. We ask you to choose peace as well. The alien patrol ships were finally responding. They turned toward the human vessels, weapons powering up, but they were too slow. The human ships had already completed their mission. All ships prepare to fold, Yeonseo ordered. S when things went wrong. Contact, her tactical officer shouted. New ships are jumping in, lots of them. On the display, Yeonseo watched in horror as a massive alien fleet appeared around the monument. Battleships the size of cities, cruisers bristling with weapons, destroyers moving to surround the human vessels. Where did they come from? She demanded. They must have been waiting in nearby systems, her navigator said. They jumped in the moment our ships appeared. It was a trap. The aliens had expected humanity to do exactly what they were doing. Fleet Commander Zexathera's voice boomed across all communication frequencies. Human vessels, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately and you will not be harmed. Yeonseo looked at her tactical display. 50 alien warships surrounded her 3 small ships. Each alien vessel outgunned the human ships by a factor of 10. "Captain," her weapons officer said quietly, "we can't fight our way out of this." "I know." Yonseo opened a channel to the other human ships. "Taijo, Sejong, status report." "We're trapped," Wanjai said, "but our quantum drives are still charged. We can fold out if we can get clear of their interference field." "What interference field?" Yonseo asked. Her science officer answered. "They're projecting some kind of spatial distortion field. It's preventing us from folding space." Zexathara's voice came again. "You have 60 seconds to surrender. If you do not comply, we will destroy your vessels." Yonseo made a decision that would change everything. "All ships prepare for combat acceleration. We're not surrendering." "Captain," her first officer said, "we can't win this fight." "We don't have to win. We just have to survive long enough for the message to get out." She opened a channel to Earth. "Command, this is Park. Mission accomplished, but we're trapped. The aliens were waiting for us." Admiral Lim's voice crackled through the communication. "Can you get out?" "Working on it. Tell the president the message is deployed. Whatever happens next, the galaxy knows humans were here." The countdown reached 0. "Human vessels, you have chosen destruction," Zexathara announced. The alien fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space toward the human ships, but the human vessels were already moving, using their superior speed and maneuverability to dodge between the massive alien battleships. "Return fire," Yonseo ordered. The human weapons were different from anything the aliens had seen. Instead of energy beams or kinetic projectiles, they fired what looked like small silver spheres. The spheres moved slowly compared to normal weapons, but when they hit the alien shields, something unexpected happened. The shields collapsed. "What was that?" Zexathara demanded from his command ship. "Unknown weapon type," his science officer reported. "The projectiles seem to be disrupting our shield harmonics." "Impossible. Our shields can stop anything." But on the tactical display, Zexathara watched as more silver spheres struck his ships. Each hit caused shields to flicker and fail. The human weapons weren't trying to destroy the alien ships. They were disabling them. "All ships, emergency power to shields," he ordered. It didn't help. The human weapons seemed to adapt to each defensive measure the aliens tried. In the middle of the battle, something even more unexpected happened. The UES Sejong stopped running and turned to face the alien fleet directly. "Sejong, what are you doing?" Yonseo demanded. Captain Hyejin's voice was calm. "Buying you time. The interference field is weakening. You can fold out in 30 seconds. We're not leaving you." "Yes, you are. That's an order from your senior officer." The Sejong accelerated directly toward the largest alien battleship, firing continuously. Its silver spheres struck the massive vessel's shields, causing them to collapse section by section. Thera watched in amazement as the tiny human ship attacked his flagship. "All weapons, concentrate on that vessel." "Sir, it's too close to us. We might hit our own ship." "Do it anyway." The alien fleet poured fire into the space around Zexathara's flagship. Energy beams crisscrossed the area where the Sejong was fighting. But the human ship seemed to dance between the attacks, its pilot using the alien flagship as cover. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "our shields are completely down. The human vessel could ram us." Instead, the Sejong fired one more spread of silver spheres and accelerated away from the alien fleet. "Now!" Hyejin's voice shouted over the communication. "The field is down!" The 3 human ships folded space simultaneously and vanished. Zex quote. Thera stared at his tactical display in shock. In less than 10 minutes, 3 tiny human vessels had penetrated the most secure location in Council space, delivered a message to the entire galaxy, disabled half his fleet, and escaped without losing a single ship. "Damage report," he said, quietly. "No ships destroyed, sir, but 23 vessels have shield generators offline. 6 have weapons systems damaged. The humans were targeting our systems, not trying to kill us." Zexathara thought about that. The humans could have rammed his flagship. They could have used explosives instead of those strange disabling weapons. They could have tried to destroy the monument. But they hadn't. Everything they did was calculated to prove a point without causing unnecessary death. On every council world, the same message was playing. Citizens who had never heard of humans were watching the holographic recording and learning about this. New species that refused to surrender. High Arbiter Veltharan received the news in his chambers on Nexus Prime. His aide delivered the report with shaking hands. "They did what?" Veltharan demanded. "They penetrated our defenses at the monument. They left a message and escaped. Fleet Commander Zexthar's forces were unable to stop them." Veltharan stared out the window at his perfect city. For the first time in thousands of years, someone had successfully challenged council authority. How is this possible? Zexathara had 50 ships. The human vessels used unknown technology. They appeared without warning and disappeared the same way. Our sensors could not track them. And the message? It's broadcasting on all frequencies. Every world in council space is receiving it. Veltharan closed his eyes. The humans had done something no species had ever done before. They had made the council look weak. "Send word to all council members, emergency session tomorrow, and contact our military commanders. I want every ship we have ready for deployment." "Yes, High Arbiter." After his aide left, Veltharan stood alone in his chamber. The humans had surprised him once. He would not let it happen again. But somewhere deep in his mind, a small voice was asking a question he didn't want to answer. If the humans could reach the monument, what else could they reach? Lieutenant Colonel Jae Sung sat in his small office on Luna Station, surrounded by screens showing alien communication networks. For 3 months, he had studied every piece of information humanity had gathered about the 12 species in the Galactic Council. He knew their histories. He knew their fears. Most importantly, he knew their secrets. "Colonel," his aide said, entering the office, "Admiral Lim wants to see the psychological warfare plan." Jae Sung smiled. "Tell the Admiral it's time to show the aliens what humans do best, which is turn enemies against each other." The plan had been simple in concept, complex in execution. Instead of fighting 12 united species, humanity would make them fight each other. Every species in the Council had old grudges, territorial disputes, and economic rivalries. They stayed together because they believed unity made them strong. Jae-Sung was about to prove them wrong. The first package appeared on Velkari homeworld during their morning news broadcast. Someone had hacked into their communication network and uploaded a series of financial records. The records showed how the Zephyrian Empire had been manipulating trade agreements for the past 3 centuries, giving themselves advantages while cheating their allies. The Velkari government demanded an explanation from High Arbiter Veltharan. They got silenced. The second package appeared on Ethereal Collective Worlds 2 days later. This time, the leaked documents showed secret territorial agreements between the Zephyrians and another species, dividing up ethereal space without their knowledge. Captain So Young Kwan was responsible for delivering these packages. Using humanity's quantum fold technology, her small stealth ship appeared in alien systems, uploaded the information, and vanished before anyone could track her. "Package 7 delivered," she reported from her ship, the UES Shadow. "The crystal. Beings just learned that their allies have been mining their sacred asteroids for the past 50 years. "Excellent work, Captain," Admiral Changmin Bayek replied from his command ship. "How are the aliens reacting?" "Exactly as Colonel O predicted. They're demanding explanations from each other instead of focusing on us. The psychological warfare campaign was working better than anyone had hoped. The leaked documents weren't fake. They were real records that humanity had discovered during years of careful observation. Every species in the Council had been secretly betraying their allies in small ways. They had just never been caught before. But the information war was only part of the plan. Admiral Changmin was conducting a different kind of campaign, one designed to show the aliens that humanity could strike anywhere, anytime. His ghost fleet consisted of 20 human ships that appeared at random locations throughout Council space. They would materialize near alien installations, scan everything with their sensors, then vanish before weapons could be brought to bear. The message was clear. Humanity could attack any target they chose, but they were choosing restraint. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we're approaching the ethereal research station at Vega 7. "Standard procedure," Changmin ordered. "Appear at maximum sensor range, conduct full scans, transmit the warning message, and fold out." Brom, UES Phantom materialized in space near the alien research station. Immediately, alarms started sounding on the ethereal facility. But before their weapons could target the human ship, it broadcast a message. "This is Admiral Changmin Bayek of the Human Defense Force. We have conducted a full scan of your facility and identified 17 critical vulnerabilities in your defensive systems. We could destroy this installation, but we choose not to. Humanity seeks peace, not war. Please reconsider your position." Then the ship vanished. On the research station, the ethereal commander stared at his tactical display in frustration. "How long were they here?" 47 seconds, his sensor operator replied. "And in that time they identified 17 vulnerabilities?" "According to our computer analysis of their sensor sweeps, yes. They found weaknesses in our shield generators, weapon systems, and structural supports that we didn't know existed." The commander sent an emergency message to the Ethereal High Council. The humans weren't just capable of appearing anywhere, they could analyze and defeat any target they chose to attack. Similar scenes were playing out across Council space. Human ships appeared at military bases, research facilities, and even civilian installations. Each time they demonstrated their ability to strike, then withdrew without causing harm. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could analyze 17 vulnerabilities in 47 seconds, what else could they do? Dr. Jion Song was responsible for the most devastating attack of all. She had prepared detailed analyses of each species' military weaknesses and broadcast them as academic papers across all Council communication networks. "The Zephyrian Empire's defensive doctrine relies heavily on overlapping energy shields," she narrated as her paper appeared on alien computer screens. "However, mathematical analysis reveals that these shields create harmonic resonance patterns that can be exploited using properly tuned electromagnetic pulses." The paper wasn't a threat. It was presented as purely theoretical research. But every military commander in Zephyrian space understood the implications. The humans had figured out exactly how to defeat their defenses. Similar papers followed for each Council species. The crystal beings learned that their living armor could be disrupted by specific sonic frequencies. The energy beings discovered that their force fields were vulnerable to quantum interference. "I'm not threatening anyone," Ji-Yoon explained to Admiral Lim. "I'm simply publishing theoretical research about defensive systems I find interesting. And if they happen to read like instruction manuals for defeating Council forces, that would be an unfortunate coincidence." The campaign was having exactly the effect humanity had hoped for. Council species were recalling their fleets from human space to defend their own territories. They were demanding explanations from their allies about the leaked documents. Most importantly, they were beginning to question whether unity with such unreliable partners was worth the cost. High Arbiter Veltherin watched his perfect alliance crumble from his office on Nexus Prime. His communications panel showed 17 incoming urgent messages from Council members, each demanding private meetings to discuss security concerns. "Sir," his aide said carefully, "the Velkari delegation is requesting immediate audience. They're upset about the trade agreement revelations. Tell them I'll meet with them tomorrow." "Sir, they say they're not leaving until they get an explanation." Veltharan sighed. "What about the Ethereal Collective? They're demanding to know why their sacred sites were being mined without their knowledge. And the crystal beings? They want to know if we plan to honor our mutual defense treaties, or if those are fake too." Veltharan stared out his window, at the space around Nexus Prime. A month ago, this system had been surrounded by the combined fleets of 12 loyal species. Now those same fleets were scattered across the galaxy, each protecting their own territory from human ghost attacks. "Sir," his aide continued, "there's something else. Fleet Commander Zexathera is requesting permission to attack human space with only Zephyrian forces." "What?" He says our allies are unreliable, and the humans are making us look weak. He wants to handle the problem himself. Veltherin thought about that. Zexathara was proud and stubborn, but he was also their best military commander. If anyone could defeat the humans, it would be him. Grant his request, Veltherin decided, but tell him to be careful. These humans are not what they appear to be. On Earth, Ambassador Hyunwoo was meeting with President Yoon Han and the military commanders. Intelligence reports showed that the Council alliance was fracturing exactly as predicted. 3 species have already sent secret messages asking about separate peace agreements, Hyunwoo reported. The Ethereal Collective wants to discuss technology sharing. The Velkari are interested in trade partnerships. And the Zephyrians? President Han asked. General Tae-young Choi answered. Intelligence suggests they're planning a solo attack. They've recalled most of their fleet from Council operations. That's what we were hoping for, Admiral Lim said. Fighting one species is much easier than fighting 12. But the Zephyrians have the largest fleet, President Han pointed out. Size isn't everything, Admiral Lim replied. Colonel O, how confident are we in the psychological profiles? Jae-sung looked up from his datapad. Zexathara is exactly the type of commander we expected. Proud, traditional, convinced that superior. Numbers guarantee victory. He'll bring his entire fleet to Sol system for a decisive battle, and when he does, we'll show him why that's a mistake. President Han looked around the room at her advisors. Are we really going to fight the entire Zephyrian Empire? No, Madam President, Admiral Lim said. We're going to defeat them so thoroughly that every other species in the galaxy will think twice before threatening humanity. And if we lose, then we'll have proven that humans don't surrender easily, General Choi said. Sometimes that's victory enough. In space around Zephyrian Prime, Fleet Commander Zexathara was assembling the largest military force in his species' history. 800 warships, from massive dreadnoughts to fast attack cruisers. It was enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Fleet Commander Zexathara had expected to find a desperate defense around Earth. He had imagined human ships clustered around their homeworld, hoping their primitive weapons might delay the inevitable dot. Instead, he found the largest trap in galactic history. Sir, his sensor operator reported, voice shaking. I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. How massive? Zexathara demanded. Unknown. The signatures don't match anything in our database. On the tactical display, Zexathara watched in growing alarm as his fleet emerged from their jump into Sol system. His 800 ships were spread across the system in attack formation, ready to overwhelm any resistance. But there was no resistance. At least, none he could see. Where are the human ships? He asked. Unknown, sir. Sensors show no vessels larger than civilian transports. That's when Admiral Seung-hoon Lim sprung his trap. All around the Zephyrian fleet, space began to twist. Reality folded in on itself as hundreds of human ships materialized inside the alien formation. They appeared between the Zephyrian vessels, behind them, above and below them. Contact, the sensor operator screamed. Multiple contacts. They're everywhere. Zexathara stared at his display in horror. His carefully planned attack formation had become a death trap. Human ships had appeared inside his defensive perimeter, where his own vessels couldn't fire without hitting each other. All ships, emergency, dispersion, he ordered. Break formation and engage at will. But the human ships were already moving. Instead of the clumsy energy weapons the aliens expected, they fired those same silver spheres that had disabled the fleet at the monument. But this time, there were thousands of them. The spheres moved through space like intelligent creatures, weaving between the Zephyrian ships and seeking out their targets. When they struck alien shields, the protective barriers simply vanished. Sir, our shields are down, his tactical officer reported. All ships reporting shield failure. Return fire, Zexathara commanded. The Zephyrian fleet began firing their massive energy weapons. Beams of destructive force lanced through space toward the human ships. But the humans were no longer where the weapons were aimed. Using their quantum fold drives, the human vessels flickered in and out of existence. They would appear, fire their disabling weapons, and vanish before the return fire could reach them. It was like fighting ghosts. Captain Wan J. Kim was commanding the UES Dokdo, one of the human vessels dancing through the alien fleet. His mission was specific: disable the Zephyrian command structure without destroying their ships. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. Zephyrian command cruiser, bearing 27 Mark IV. Disable their communications array, Wanjay ordered. But don't destroy the ship. Silver spheres shot out from the Dokdo and struck the alien cruiser. The ship's communication systems went dark, cutting it off from the rest of the fleet. Similar scenes played out throughout the battle. Human ships targeted command vessels, communication hubs, and coordination centers. They weren't trying to destroy the Zephyrian fleet. They were trying to blind and confuse it. Within 30 minutes, Zexathara's magnificent fleet had become a scattered collection of individual ships, unable to coordinate their attacks or communicate with each other. "Sir," his aide said desperately, "we've lost contact with 60% of the fleet. Our weapons are hitting our own ships more often than the humans." Zexathara watched his tactical display as his fleet destroyed itself. Ships fired at sensor, contacts that turned out to be their own allies. Captains made independent decisions that contradicted orders from other commanders. The precise formation that had been his pride became a chaotic mess. Then the humans did something that shocked him even more than their military tactics. They stopped firing. Admiral Lim's voice came over every communication channel in the system, speaking in perfect Zephyrian language. "Fleet Commander Zexathara, this is Admiral Sung-Hoon Lim of the Human Defense Force. You are defeated. Order your ships to stand down and no one else needs to be hurt." Zexathara looked at his damage reports. Amazingly, despite the chaos of the battle, only 12 of his ships had been destroyed, all of them by accidental friendly fire. The humans had disabled his entire fleet without committing mass murder. "Why?" he asked over the communication channel. "Because we're not monsters," Lim replied. "We just wanted to be left alone. You forced us to prove that we couldn't be conquered. You could destroy us all." "Yes, but we won't. Your crews can return home to their families. Your ships can be repaired. But next time maybe you'll remember that humans fight differently than other species." Zexathara stared at his tactical display for a long moment. His fleet was beaten. His tactics had failed completely. But the humans were offering him something no military commander had ever received after such a defeat: the chance for his people to go home alive. "All ships," he said quietly, "stand down weapons. Prepare for withdrawal." The news of the Battle of Sol spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Zephyrian Empire, the most powerful military force in Council space, had been defeated by a species that controlled 3 small worlds. But more shocking than the defeat was what happened after it. On Ethereal Prime, the High Council received a message from Ambassador Hyun-Woo Park. The humans were offering a non-aggression pact and technology-sharing agreement. They wanted to trade quantum fold technology for ethereal knowledge of energy manipulation. The Ethereal Council accepted. Immediately. On Velkari homeworld, similar messages arrived. The humans offered favorable trade agreements and military cooperation. After seeing what had happened to the Zephyrians, the Velkari government was eager to become humanity's ally instead of their enemy. One by one, the species that had once been part of the Galactic Council reached out to humanity. They offered friendship instead of conquest, cooperation instead of domination. High Arbiter Veltharan found himself presiding over the collapse of everything he had built. The emergency council session he had called was attended by only 3 species. The others were all busy negotiating with humans. "This is temporary," he told his remaining allies. "They'll realize their mistake and return to the council." But even as he spoke the words, he knew they weren't true. The old order was gone. The humans had proven that unity built on fear and domination couldn't survive contact with an enemy that refused to surrender. 6 months later, Ambassador Su Bin-jung took her seat in the newly constructed assembly hall orbiting New Geneva Station. The hall was smaller than the old council chamber, but it was filled with representatives from 47 different species. nearly 4 times as many as the old council. President Yoon Ji-han gave the opening address to the new Galactic Assembly. For too long, this galaxy was ruled by the idea that some species were superior to others, she said. That some had the right to control who could travel between the stars, who could build colonies, who could determine their own future. She looked around the hall at alien faces that had once viewed humanity as primitives to be controlled. Today we begin something new. A galaxy where every species has a voice, where cooperation replaces domination, where no one has to choose between slavery and war. In the audience, Dr. Min Ho-yoon watched as former enemies applauded alongside new allies. The Zephyrian representative, not High Arbiter Veltharin, who had been replaced by his own people, stood and nodded respectfully to the human president. Fleet Commander Zexathera, now reduced to commanding planetary defense forces, watched the ceremony on his personal viewer. His aide asked if he thought humanity would become the same kind of threat the Council had been. Zex. Thera was quiet for a long moment. No, he finally said. The humans didn't defeat us by becoming stronger than us. They defeated us by being different from us. They showed us that real strength comes from knowing when not to use your power. I don't understand, sir. They could have destroyed my entire fleet, Zexathara explained. They could have conquered the Zephyrian Empire and enslaved my people. Instead, they sent us home and offered us friendship. He turned off the viewer and looked out at the stars. That's why they won, not because they had better weapons or faster ships, because they understood something we had forgotten, that the strongest victory is the one that turns your enemies into allies. In the assembly hall, President Han was concluding her speech. The stars belong to everyone, she said. Today, we make sure they always will. The applause that followed was genuine, coming from species that had learned to respect rather than fear the small blue world that had changed everything. Captain Ji-ho Kim, now Admiral of the 1st Exploration Fleet, stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony as it prepared for humanity's next great adventure. His mission was to explore beyond the galactic rim, to find new species and new worlds that had never heard of the old council or the new assembly. Quantum fold drive ready, his navigator reported. Destination, Admiral? His helm officer asked. G-Ho looked out at the unknown stars waiting beyond the galaxy's edge. Wherever we've never been before, he said. It's time to see what else is out there. As the Harmony folded space and vanished into the cosmic dark, the message it carried was the same one humanity had always believed. The universe was vast and beautiful, and everyone deserved the chance to explore it freely.